Hi, welcome to Renewed Life Acres. My name is Anna, and in this video we're going to be doing part 2 of our little homestead tour and focusing on the projects that we are going to have done during the next handful of years as we transform this property into our little homestead that produces food for our family. First, we're going to go over some of the things that we've already done to the property and house since we've been here just almost 2 months now. One of the first things we discovered during our home buying process was that the well on our property had more lead in it than was safe, and since we didn't want any lead in our water and for peace of mind, we were able to put in a water filtration system in the crawl space, and I'll talk about the crawl space more later in this video. We were also had to replace our well tank. We took out some shag carpeting inside and replaced it with laminate to match the rest of the house, and we had to not encapsulate fully our crawl space due to water damage, but we got it worked on and more waterproofed so that the water coming down our hill, since we have very hilly terrain, wouldn't cause any bad damage over the years of washing out the piers or anything like that, since this is a modular home that we're in. Next big endeavor that we took on here was getting rid of the 2 giant patches of bamboo that was kind of taking over our property up in the front. There was one batch near the driveway and then one up in front of the house. That was a whole endeavor, getting that chopped down and then removed, maybe a story for another time. But now we are just trying to keep the bamboo away. It's gonna take about a year for us constantly cutting it pretty much every week to kill the roots system so that it doesn't come back anymore. And then the next big thing that we did was start on junk removal. That took us, we're still working on it, so probably a month and a half. We got the majority of the junk out of here. I believe we're gonna have to continue finding junk throughout the winter as we can see more when the plants die back. But we were able to get some help with getting that junk removed, and it has really given this place a facelift. And the final thing that I want to go over before we go into what we plan for the future, when we bought this house, we did a survey, or we had a survey done, and it discovered that there's a section of fence outside of our little black square there that does not belong to us. Even though it's inside our current fencing, it belongs to the 12 acres that are to the side of us. And you can see that drawn in red right here. So we still have our 2.428 acres, but that section is not ours. And the next thing that we discovered during our survey was that we had an easement on our property for our neighbor's driveway. Now we knew that we had a neighbor's driveway right next to us, but we didn't realize until the survey that it is on our property and it's a part of our 2.4 acres there. And now to get into the fun stuff. This is an overview of our property, most of the cleared area. There's some woods that aren't pictured here, but I want to show you kind of an idea of what we hope to transform this place into in the future, and that is this right here. So the green area is our pasture / wood area that we're going to hopefully run some animals on, and I'll talk more about what animals we hope to have in the future in a bit. The black line is our future driveway. We plan on getting rid of our current driveway and just using the easement of our neighbor's driveway. The red box with a red X would become also a part of the driveway, kind of like a gravel pad for us to park on. The purple lines are our future raised bed garden area. The red box with a check is our future barn area. And then the orange line in the middle would be kind of like an animal-free zone for us to have a fire pit and a place for the kids to play and things like that. And this is a little drawing that I did of how I think we would be able to break up our 3 areas into 3 different pastures. Our goal is to fence out the creek so that it doesn't get damaged by any animals on it. So the front yard and the side yard on the left would be the front pasture, and then there's the back pasture, which is the furthest point from the house on the other side of the creek, and the side pasture would be kind of tucked in over there near our neighbor's driveway. And these are just some screenshots that I grabbed from the local GIS website showing us the general percentage of acreage per front, side, and back pasture. I just wanted to take a second and apologize for all the different voiceover sounds and everything. It's taken me basically a week to get this video put together, and I've been filming little bits in different areas at different times of the day. It's kind of hard to do all of this with 2 kids and doing my sourdough business and trying to figure out how to run a little homestead. So that's why it's crazy, but that is also just the realness of my life, and I wanted to share that. This next part that we're going to go into is talking about more of the future of what we would hope to do here. And I want to start off by saying that we had a homestead audit done by some local homesteaders who kind of live this same lifestyle. They're about 30 minutes away from us. I actually sell some of my sourdough products through their food club that they have. And so they offer to come out to your homestead and spend a few hours with you, like looking over things and just seeing how they would set things up if this was their home, see what kind of plants you have growing here, where the best place to put a garden would be, where to put a barn, land management, things like that, what kind of animals they think would thrive on your land. So we had a great time doing that with them. I'll link their info below if you're local to North Carolina. They're really awesome. So they were able to help us kind of figure out that, you know, we wanted to put the garden where the old shed currently is, because that gets the best sunlight. And then they liked the idea of the driveway, you know, being moved to gain more pasture for our animals. Yeah, so that's basically what they were able to help us discover, and they gave us an awesome document to kind of go back to and look at the notes they had told us during their time here. Another goal that we have is obviously to fence our entire property, and that's probably a 5 to 7 year goal, maybe even a 10-year goal, who knows. I think we can do a lot with the Premier One electric netting that I did another video on, and obviously a lot of homesteaders use those because it's so versatile and it can be used for a lot of different things, and it's mobile, which we love. We've been running our sheep around our property with that so far. But our goal would be to have, you know, a permanent fence all around the property, and then the inner fences that I showed in that previous clip that I drew would probably be something like the electric netting, or just an electric fence, something that's less permanent. And we know that we're going to have to probably do some forestry mulching, or get some forestry mulching done before we put the fence in, and that's, you know, a lot of money. And obviously we want to keep as much of the woods, I think, as we can, but we also maybe want to thin it out a bit to be able to get possibly a little bit of larger livestock on the property. Our homesteading friends who did the audit for us also told us about becoming a bona fide farm, and to look into that, because if you are able to do that, then there is grants available for creek restoration. And so we really hope to be able to build back, or at least make better and keep up the creek that we have. The previous owners here had some sheep that they just let free range in the back that was all fenced, and we don't know what kind of damage they may have done to the creek, and we want to keep it as good as it can be during our life here. So that would be an awesome resource to have through our local extension office. I really hope to have a big garden that can produce basically all the veggies that we eat, and an orchard with some medicinal plants in them, and an herb garden maybe on the back deck. I have only done some minimal research on this, but I did find a video on a guy who was giving a homestead conference talk, who was talking about converting crawl spaces into cold storage spaces. And so I have to do more research on that to see if it's possible for us, but our crawl space is a little bit taller than crawling length or height, so it's possible that we would be able to get some use out of that as a cold storage space for, you know, root crops or anything like that that would need some food storage. We don't have a pantry in the house, which is one of the downfalls, but there's not very many. I would have loved to have a pantry, but I think if we just reorganize some of the space inside the house, it'll be fine. That hasn't been an issue so far, but having a cold storage space that's pretty much already built in that way would be awesome. I haven't really talked about the house a whole lot, but it's a modular home, and we have some solar panels that were previously installed and paid off on the roof. That's an awesome benefit that I think we would have always wanted to have, but if they weren't here, we probably would have never paid for them. So that's a really awesome perk that this house had. Another one of the things that I wasn't going to say no to a house for if it didn't have it, but this one does. So we were very grateful. And so finally, I want to talk about the animals that we hope to have. It's pretty basic. I don't think it's much different than any other homesteader's dreams of having animals when they want to grow their own meat. But we want laying hens, meat chickens. Obviously we have the sheep so far that are going to go in the freezer in November. I do think eventually we want to have a breeding pair to not have to continuously buy lambs every so often. We're thinking about goats. Goats seem complicated compared to sheep, and sheep seem to be doing the job of goats pretty well. So maybe we'll just increase our flock of sheep at some point, and we have to see if we like lamb meat. We haven't eaten a whole lot of lamb meat in our lives. We would also maybe love some pigs. I know we like pork, and I think with the woods in the back and all the walnuts, another mentor told us that some pigs would do pretty well there. And then our homesteading friends who came to do the audit had also mentioned that we maybe would be able to have 1 to 2 Dexter cows here. And obviously I don't think we would have all of those animals at once. That sounds like too much, and we don't have enough space for that. But if we had, you know, lambs for a season, and then pigs for a season, and then cows for a season, and they each got, you know, butchered or sold, and we rotated them like that every, you know, however long it takes to grow those animals out. I think that could work if we manage the property properly. So yeah, those are our goals. Oh, also chickens and ducks, and turkeys, you know, all the birds I think we would like. I thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, please like and subscribe to the channel if you want to continue on this journey with us. I'm going to try to transition from using my phone to my camera. It's a lot more complicated, you know, to set the camera up and to download the videos onto the laptop and edit them on the laptop. But I want to make this channel better and continue doing videos. So thank you so much for watching.